Hello and welcome. Today I thought I would do something a little bit different and just talk about some of the work that I've been doing in the background outside of the work that I've been putting up on my Instagram and YouTube. I had recently decided that I wanted to start working on canvases and also much larger surfaces than I'm used to. I mostly work in A5 size, A4 size, sometimes A3, but nearly always on paper or card. Most of the time in some form of sketchbook, and also using things like watercolour paint, coffee stain and very finely nibbed pigment liners. So I want to start working on canvases, which are obviously a completely different texture. They require different mediums and they're at a much larger size as well. So during this phase where I am trying to transition from one to the other, I just thought it would be nice to share some things that I've figured out. Most stuff I am still trying to figure out. I'm very much still in the trenches of this, but there's already been some little things that I've discovered that I really like, some textures that I find are working really well, and some pens that are working much better than expected. I've been experimenting with like a big blue spiral. I've tried that in a few different ways. And then I've also been experimenting with a field and cottage kind of layout. Both of these are subject matters that I've done before many times in my sketchbooks and sometimes on larger A3 sheets of paper. But I've been trying to work out how to get those to work on the canvases. So those two approaches are what I'm going to show today. I'm also going to show all the little steps that I took in between while I was figuring stuff out. Most of it isn't very pretty. It's me figuring out what pencil works on top of what paint type works best on the canvas. There's been some unfortunate surprises where a paint that worked really well on paper, as soon as I applied it to a canvas, it just completely changed the colour. Green, I'm looking at you. Green is always really tricky anyway, but there was one and it was just such a lovely shade of green on paper, that lovely like bright olive tone that I love. Put it on a canvas and it just went like a grey colour. And I don't know if that's just because of probably due to the background colour I was using. That's another thing I've been experimenting with, that sort of toned background. And that's obviously, we're getting into colour theory here. That's that's a whole other discussion and something that I'm working through at the minute as well. So maybe that's affecting the colours and how they are perceived as well. So starting at the beginning, I bought these little canvas boards years and years ago in Hobbycraft or something. And they lay there for ages and ages. And one day I was thinking about transitioning to canvases anyway. So I was like, I'm going to do a little experiment on one. So for this one, I stained the background, I think just using a washed down acrylic brown paint. And then over the top, used the same colour of like a turquoise gouache in all of those shapes. And then once that had dried, applied 2 colours of colouring pencil on top, just to add that texture and depth. So using a dark blue and then using a white, and you can see how differently it ends up looking whenever it's the same base colour, but I've applied 2 different colours of pencil on top. So I really liked how this ended up. I really liked the texture, I really liked how vibrant it was. I think a lot of that is down to the shade of the gouache paint because it's so vibrant itself. So the next one I worked on was this little cottage layout. Again, toned the background and then did quite like a geometric design whilst leaving these sort of little gaps in between. And then again applied, I think I've got a few different colours of colouring pencil on here, and then white, and I believe this was brown with maybe a wee black pencil on top just to give a little bit of texture. I loved how this one turned out. I think the blue is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. It works really, really well. Working out a composition. This one being landscape, that's very unusual for me. Most of my stuff is portrait because, as I was saying, I work in notebooks. So this was really different for me. But yeah, I decided to, for my next one, work in portrait. So this one here, which there is going to be a full video of me creating this one at some point. This one I'm going to set this down because it's pretty big. This one, composition-wise, wanted to be a little bit more adventurous because in my mind I'd sort of worked out what way I wanted the actual materials to work. For the composition, wanted to be a little bit more adventurous, so I went for almost like a aerial view plan of a garden, and then with the cottage at the top, the fields, and then a little bit of sky at the top. The inspiration for the composition itself, based off of all those like lovely old drawings you can find of like, you know, estates and manors and all of that, but also wanted to bring a bit of the Irishness into it. So we have the cottage and the fields, and then this sort of boxy effect, you know, this is almost like a plan for a garden, like a landscaping diagram. So, you know, I would imagine these are like different herbs, these are different shrubs, and we'll have a little walled area here, maybe another little secondary little shed to keep tools in, a very small pond, and then the well in the middle, of course, and the little wall that separates the house from the garden. So with this one, it had a green background. As I was saying, I'm still very much experimenting with how the background colour works, but I felt like it worked pretty well because most of the colours were green. I'll show you, I did start to experiment with using the opposite to green, like a reddy colour, and how that worked out. But I did like how this ended up. I did go over the top of the underpainting, or toned layer I suppose, with a pencil as well, just so that the texture was across the entire piece. Okay, next we have a complete failure. Wanted again to do a cottagey layout, wanted the fields, or, you know, this is abstract, basically just lots of shades of green just to give that representation of either fields or maybe these are even, you know, different layers of a landscape. I was leaving that up to how it looked in the end, but because I had recently got some acrylic markers, and I'll show you some experimentation that I've done with those. They're acrylic markers and they work really well with pencil on top. So I naively thought that acrylic paint would also work really well with pencil on top. And after I'd painstakingly drawn out the plan for this, measured it all out, filled all this in with like an ochre acrylic paint, put on another colour on top on some of them, and then tried the pencil just would not work. It was like it was just like trying to draw on plastic. Basically nothing was coming off the pencil, which is quite frustrating. So then I thought I'll maybe just apply some different shades of green on top. And I quite like, you know, leaving it a little bit messy looking. You can still see there's like a very dark brown background in this one, and then you can see the little outline of the yellow. This one wasn't loving so much, but approach-wise, it wasn't very satisfying. I do think if I had better colours, this would work a lot better. It may just be that my colour mixing isn't very good at the minute, but yeah, just texture-wise, this one, it was very hard to work with, and I abandoned that one because there was no point finishing it. I'll maybe come back to this mix of mediums at some stage whenever I've maybe worked on my colour theory a bit more, but yeah, for now, we're leaving that one be. Next then, you can see it's the same composition as this one, just a little bit smaller. And instead of using acrylic, I went for gouache. And this is what I was talking about, where the greens were just nowhere near as vibrant as I thought they would be. And then whenever I applied pencil over the top, I just don't feel like that was really helping much. So I love the composition, I love the texture, it's just not as punchy as it needs to be. That could be down to literally the shade of green that all of this is, but I don't know. This one was lovely to do, and I really enjoyed doing it while I was doing it, but it just maybe a little bit washed out. But then again, sometimes it's nice to have art that has that effect and it isn't really bold. But yeah, so those are the main pieces that I've been experimenting with. And now I'm going to show some of the steps that I did in between. So yeah, this was this was me attempting to almost like stipple acrylic paint onto a canvas. I did this one a long time ago, abandoned it, and like a lot of stuff I do, I start it, there's something there, but I'm not quite there yet, so I keep it and then I come back to it. So this was, I would say, my very first attempt. Goodness knows how long ago that was. Again, a little bit of a development on from that one. The colours aren't great. I do really like the composition. I love these like fields. You'll see there was a lot more field work in the experimental phase than there was in the canvases that I ended up doing. And then here is, I bought some Posca acrylic markers, and this was the very beginning of me seeing how this looked on canvas versus paper. With I had 2 different shades of green, and then had a few different shades of colouring pencil as well. This here is just all of the pencils that I have at hand that I knew I would work well with the greens. This page here is just like a colour study, sort of. You can see, this was my problem. Where is it? Grab it. This green that is now covered in pencil and this green are the same colour. And on paper it is just so much more vibrant than on canvas. Do not know why. If anyone knows, let me know. But this was how I figured out what colours I wanted to use on top of my other colours if I wanted to add in tones or shading. This one was the experiment that I did before doing this one in acrylic. Or maybe it was after, because for this one I used just a really simple, yeah, sorry, this one was after because this is gouache and that's acrylic. After I'd done that one and didn't really like it, I was like, right, what about gouache on paper? So again, just really beautiful colour, and like the texture that comes through from the paper is really, really nice. And then started to look at, well, it's upside down, started to look at how the pencils could work over the top. And I do really like this. So I might go back to this. This is like a lovely handmade paper, cotton. It's very thick. It's almost like dusty to touch. Quite thirsty paper, but yeah, maybe come back to this one. And here is the beginning of the experimentation of the reds and the orange sort of backgrounds. I was just trying to figure out, I've seen just so many beautiful paintings that have a red layer underneath, and then usually landscapes with lots of green in them are painted on top. You see the little bits of red coming through. It just looks so beautiful. This, I feel like it actually works better before I add in the colour variation. But this was actually quite hard on the eyes to work with. It's such a bright shade of red. This one's pretty nothingy. This is an acrylic marker just on white. Whoa, very red. This one was too much. This was too bright and just honestly, just not very me. I like earth tones. Yeah, this was just all too bright, and yeah, quickly realised that wasn't the approach. So this was 2 shades of Posca markers on top of, quite like this, like a rusty red colour. This one, again, this was like a test for then to later do on canvas. Canvas is a lot more expensive than paper, so I'm best working it all out here first. But then, as I'd seen, it's not a like for like anyway, so yeah. Didn't mind this background colour, especially with this sort of almost like dark bluey green. Thought it was quite nice. Tried it on a ochre background, and then I started to experiment with, I love like landscape paintings, and they have the details of all the fields, all of the crop marks and bushes and all of that. So this is just a wee experimental page for how I thought that could work. And lastly, this was another one that was just all fields, so no sky, and again, experimenting with bushes and how they could maybe look, and little cottages as well. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the canvas approach of fields and cottages. I do think that actually one of the earliest ones I did in this phase is this one. I think because it's graphic, you know, I really like graphic compositions, and it was really fun to do as well. I think the colours all worked really well, and yeah, I might take this as a starting point for a new phase of experimentation, and I'll maybe come back to the other ones as well. So next then we have the olive blue swirls that I was talking about. They're all based on this drawing here from one of my moleskins. I think this is, yeah, 2020, so quite an oldie. But whenever I drew this at the time, really loved it. Knew I'd want to translate that to something bigger eventually, and especially just loved the different colours of blue and green, which are my favourite colours anyway. So yeah, I thought that would be a good, simple, all the cottage ones are very measured in general. Like there's rulers involved. It's all about the composition of those, whereas this is very free, very loose, just sort of relies on whatever my initial pencil layout looks like for how it turns out in the end. So thought those were two good avenues to go down so I could explore both methods. So the first one that I did for this is just blocks. There's no black outlines, there's no white, which you'll see are in the other ones. This is using a Posca marker, again in a lovely vibrant turquoise. What is it about the turquoises? They just work so well. Used like a nice browny background, which I think complements the blue really well, and then just used a few different shades of colouring pencil on top. So we've got like a navy, a white, I think that's a brown, we've got one that's quite close to the original colour, and then just randomly assigned colours to each of the shapes. But really like this one, really like the texture. I feel like it is very bold, but without there being too much of a harshness to it. So I really love this approach. We'll definitely go back to this one in another way, maybe add some detail somehow, or maybe this just needs to be massive. Because again, as I was saying, I want to do much bigger things. And even this, I mean, what is this? Slightly smaller than A3. So yeah, really like that one. Next then, I believe, I actually can't remember now. I think I did this one first. So there is a full YouTube video on the creation of this one. I can't even get it in frame. It's A2. I stuck together two pieces. Oh, I don't want to get it dirty. Ugh. Stuck together two pieces of grey board that, you know, I just got in packaging from something else. Used a whole load of papers that I had lying around. We've got watercolours, we've got book pages, all sorts collaged on top. And then once I had those stuck down, this one I would say it's very close to this. The only differences are, I think I added more detail in with the wee black boxes, and then the spaces were just a lot bigger, so there's a lot more detail. But this is very much inspired by this, and I really loved it and how it turned out. It uses a lot of different paper textures, so you can really see how the pen and the paint interacts differently depending on the surface. The artwork that was done in the notebook was just using watercolour pencils. For this one, I went back to the gouache and the colouring pencils just to be able to do that bigger surface quicker. So yeah, really happy with that one. Then next I did this one, and this one again quite close to the original but uses white as well. So chose like a cool brown for the background, drew my outline, painted my colour bits in, and then went over the top with the black pen and then white details as well. So this one's very bold, this one's got very high contrast. I have since bought some brown pens. I'm going to try that for the outline of something, just so that it's maybe not as harsh, but I do love black and white. It's one of those things whenever you're in school or uni or whatever, and they're like, an artist never uses pure black, and I've ignored that rule forever. I love pure black, I love pure white, especially over these. The blue and the brown just go so well together. So again, this is another one I could see becoming a really big piece, or maybe, you know, it's not just one spiral, maybe there's three that interact with one another or something. I don't know. So yeah, keeping hold of that one. So just going to go through some of the experiments that I did to get me on my way to create those 3 pieces. I really like the idea of dark and moody art because I use watercolor a lot and it's usually on a white background. It's quite light. This is acrylic. I was thinking I'd do something really dark, really moody. I think I just used 2 shades. I used brown and a turquoise, created a palette, so these are just almost like a gradient between those colors, and then added a little bit of white as it got to the edges. This one, I love the colors, and you can see I've started to look at how these could work over the top. Because the colors are so dark, the black is getting lost, the white is very intense. As well as getting a brown pen, I also got like a creamy one, so maybe that would work well for this, so it's just not as stark, light and dark. This one is super not my favorite. I tried to do texture. Because I'm getting such a lovely texture from the pencil on top of the paint, I was like, why can't the paint just be texture? I just don't really love this one as much. Maybe it's because it's acrylic, maybe it's because it's on paper. Maybe this would look really great on a canvas. That's an avenue I haven't explored yet. But for this one, I suppose this is kind of like in between the spiral and the cottage, because I was looking at an abstract representation of, you know, moving down through the earth, or maybe these are layers of fields, or maybe this is a landscape, these are lakes, these are ground, I don't know. So this was more like a colour, figuring out the colour, and yeah, not sure about this. Next, I was thinking maybe I could make a gradient out of acrylic, or is this gouache? I think that's gouache, it's not shiny, yeah. So I was thinking I could maybe make like a textured gradient. Something kind of strange happened with the colours in the middle. I'm not sure. I use a heat gun to dry all of my work, and sometimes I wonder if my heat gun cooks the paint and it makes it go funny. I'm too impatient, and I'm also usually doing about 4 of these at once, so there's no way I'm waiting, you know, forever for paint to dry, but I have a feeling I might have singed. Or maybe it's just the way the colours, the pigments are reacting together, I'm not sure. But I did quite like it. I like flaws in things, and I like whenever unexpected little textures happen. Like, I love the bloom that happens in watercolor whenever you drop water on it, all of that. So I literally just started to do a little bit on top with pen and really didn't like it, so I'll maybe come back to this approach at some stage. This is kind of a colour study. Again, this is in between the 2 pieces. You can see I've tried a spiral in black on ochre, but this is very much where I'm trying out greens and seeing how they work. The only ones that are vibrant, I think that's acrylic, and the rest are gouache. They're very washed out. But again, maybe that's the relationship between the background colour and the green. Maybe because the ochre is so bold, that's making the greens look really dull. I'm not sure. Colour is totally magical, and I do not understand. I don't understand the lore. I should probably learn. Next is, yeah, I think I did this one before this one, and was experimenting a bit about how a white, maybe just only white fine liner, so if like we ignore all of that, how all of that would work. Quite like that. Maybe I'll go back and experiment further with something. I really hated whenever I added the black in the middle. It just looks like an eye. And then yeah, the black over the top. There's something not right here, but obviously I loved how these bits looked, so that's why I went on to do that. But there's maybe something here, like with the detail of the white over the top, because I do love that like abstract detail. And it's unusual for it to be all in white. Usually, you know, I do black pen over the top of something, but these acrylic markers, they're the fine Posca ones, like I've mentioned, they are really opaque and they glide beautifully over canvas, so I've really been enjoying those. This here, gradient, just testing out how a gradient could look. Not sure what paint that is. I just really love these colours. Maybe draw something on that at some stage. This is I I think this is a paper that's meant to be used for oil paints. I use it quite a lot. I use it as one of my book covers for one of the books in my shop. And then tried gouache. It's so smooth, there's no texture. Maybe that's nice, not sure. It almost felt too matte, and whenever I applied the pen on top, it was too smooth. Just showed every tiny little bit where it was too thick or too thin. The pencil worked really well on top, so it was interesting. It was quite different from everything else, and I think what drew me to this was I just love this colour. I've been trying to replicate this colour for the background of other pieces. I think it's just so nice. And lastly, this does not belong here. This is the composition for the cottages pieces. So yeah, just to go back to that one, there was a lot more working out for the cottages ones, and in terms of composition, there's so many different routes I could have taken, and I was really trying to explore how to convey depth and how to show, you know, the hills were going, they're further away in the distance and all of that. Because perspective isn't really something, I don't draw realistically. It's patterns that represent something using colour and texture and mood. So this was a great little exercise to do, just to test out how that composition should probably work. But yeah, it doesn't belong in this section, so put that away. So yeah, that's everything that I've been working on so far. I've recently bought some larger canvases, so before I dove into those, I did just want to do a little bit of a recap for you, just to show, if you are interested, what I get up to in between all of the pieces that end up being posted on my YouTube and Instagram. So hopefully some of this was helpful and interesting. And if you have any advice for any of the issues that I've been that I've spoken about, please let me know. That would be really great. Just drop a wee note in the comments. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.